Hey Cup of Christ fam, welcome back to another video. So fun fact, I am a big Boise State fan. I was born in Boise, Idaho, so we won this weekend and I am so excited. I love football and totally not part of this video whatsoever. Just wanted to throw that out there. As y'all know, I am big on being open, everything I'm feeling, everything I go through. And this past week was the biggest struggle for me. I don't know what's been happening, but lately I have been completely complacent and I don't even know where it came from. But I had been talking to my dad and he's been fighting the same battle. Guys, it was so hard for me this week to study, to pray, to talk to God. I just didn't feel it. And Friday was no exception. Fridays are usually the days where, you know, we're celebrating. We're like, yes, the weekend's finally here. Except for those who have to work on the weekend. Sorry. Even Friday, I was having a really bad day. And my best friend messaged me and said, hey, do you want to go get a cup of coffee? And I said, yeah, why not? And at first I wasn't going to, but I knew I just had to get out. And I told my best friend that I felt like nothing was ever going to get better. And it was like emotion was clouding my perspective on everything. And it wasn't just, you know, I had a bad day. It was just everything had been coming at me. Everything had been going wrong. And I was starting to feel like I felt that I was under attack. And so I was sitting there venting. After a while, I kind of stopped and looked. My best friend told me, you know, at least next year you are turning 30. Not a lot of people have that opportunity. And proceeded to tell me about this coworker that he works with that has pancreatic cancer, stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and put it into perspective for me that I am truly blessed, and here I am complaining and worrying about all this stuff that's going on, worrying about turning 30 next year when my friend's coworker is not even probably gonna make it to his 33rd birthday. And I realized at that moment that I was pointing fingers at everything that was going wrong in my life. And it was kind of like I started realizing that the heart of the problem wasn't that I was mad at everybody else, but that I was upset with God. But I didn't want to come out and say that. But it all came back to I wanted God to just take me out of all of these problems now. It was like if only God would just bring relief, then all would be fine and all would be well and I wouldn't be so cranky. But my friend reminded me that it's a problem of perspective, not of your circumstance. That was one thing that I realized I needed God for. I needed his perspective on everything that was going on. Whenever we're having bad days, at least for me, I tend to immediately go to the book of Psalms because I know somebody was suffering and was hurting just like I felt like I was hurting and was struggling the way that I was struggling. For example, in Psalms 13:1, it says, "O Lord, how long will you forget me? Forever? How long will you look the other way?" How many times have you felt like that? That everything has been coming against you and you felt that God had actually turned his back, that everything was going wrong and there was just no way out of your circumstance or your situation. And we tend to think of David as the man after God's own heart. But this psalm right here shows us that in those moments, you can't tell me that David did not have moments of doubt or moments of cries to the Lord that he wanted to know, God, where were you? What are you doing? Where are you in this situation? And that's one thing as far as being human. First off, we cannot see God's perspective. We only are in the present and in the now, and we only feel what's happening now. And sometimes we tend to put our feelings before our faith, and I think that's what I was doing. There was all of my emotions and everything I was putting before. I was putting that into I was using my own perspective and what I was seeing at the moment. And when you tend to do that, it makes the present pain that you're going through seem more permanent. And and especially with, I feel like millennials, we tend to, you know, we're used to everything happening right away. So when it doesn't happen, when we don't get immediate relief, we automatically give up. We automatically throw in the towel and say, well, obviously God has forgotten about me. And I mean, I'm including myself in this because I have done this so many times where I'm like, well, God, you know, it's taking forever. So obviously you forgot what I've been praying for. Obviously you didn't hear me. Obviously you turned it the other way. And so we say, well, if we don't get immediate relief from the Lord, we automatically lose heart, and we tend to just focus on our lousy life, and we just that's our only perspective instead of using God's perspective. In his mercy and his grace, God has reminded me that, you know, his perspective is so much more important than mine. Because obviously if I run on emotion, and that's one of my biggest weaknesses, I tend to really run on emotion. I tend to make decisions on emotion. And it's something that I'm asking God daily to help me with, because I act on emotions, and a lot of times that is a big no-no, because my emotions come and go, and I end up being stuck with decisions that I really didn't want to make, but I made only based on emotion. That includes making decisions on whether to be upset with what's going on in my life or to be content, be happy. So as Christians, we have to daily remember to take God's perspective. The first thing we wake up in the morning is to take God's perspective and realize that the problems that we have today are not permanent. The problems that we face each day are not permanent. The situations that you're in, they're not permanent. They will pass. We have to try to see God's perspective in the problem. I found some examples on perspective, God's perspective and our perspective. And I want to read, there's 3 of them. So the first one is, the argument you had with your spouse doesn't define your marriage. God's perspective says you should see where selfish hearts can choose to serve instead. The second one is, the ticket you got doesn't make you a bad driver. God's perspective helps you see the value in justice even when you're the recipient of it. The third one is, the sinful thought that you had or acted on doesn't mean you're unsaved. God's perspective reminds you that you were saved by grace, not because of your own righteousness. So you see in these situations how you can have one perspective, but God has a different perspective. There is a reason behind everything that happens. And that's why it is so crucial that we do not put our emotions in front of our faith. And I mean, we are all gonna have slip-ups. You know, after this weekend, I just spent time with God, and I grew closer with the Lord, and I just talked with him. What I learned from this, I made a mistake and I confessed it. That's what you have to do. When you realize you make a mistake, you have to push your pride away and come to the Lord and confess, Lord, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. You know, how I thought, what I said, my attitude, my attitude towards you, my attitude towards this whole day, whatever mistake you made, confess it. That's the start of everything. That's the start of restoration. The second thing that I learned is you don't wallow in it. You don't stay in it. That's what the enemy wants. And that's one thing that the enemy loves to do. He loves to take away our hope. And if we allow him to continue to feed those thoughts to our minds, then it does happen. We stay in our sorrow and we believe that it's all hopeless, that life is just hopeless. I was able to talk with my best friend. I was able to talk with my pastor, my dad. I mean, my pastor is my dad. I was able to talk and get advice from them and to try to get a different perspective. And the thing is that God showed me his perspective through them. That's why it's so crucial to have spiritual mentors, spiritual people in your lives that are going to uplift you and support you and to give you advice, and then sometimes put you on the right track, especially when you need it. So, today I encourage you that if you're in a funk right now, it's gonna pass. That much is certain. God promised that it will pass. But we have to start putting our faith before our feelings. And that's one thing that I'm learning, but God is working with me. And he's reminding me every day that all I have to do is call out to him, and I get to see how wonderful he is, and I get to see him work in my life. And that's exactly what he's gonna do in your life. So as always, I pray that this encourages you. I pray that you all continue to grow in the Lord. I pray that you are getting stronger in the Lord as I am. It's okay to mess up. It's okay to make mistakes. And know that God is going to restore you. He's going to bring you out. And your relationship with the Lord is going to continue to grow as long as you keep fighting for it, as long as you keep working at it. So I'm praying for you guys. And as always, I love you all. I love your support, and I pray that God continues to manifest himself in your guys' lives. I hope you all have a wonderful day and a wonderful week, and I'll see you all next Monday. God bless you guys.